Captain Jake Morrison sat at the long metal table and watched the alien creatures argue. Their voices filled the huge room with strange sounds. Some clicked their tongues. Others made deep humming noises. A few spoke in high-pitched squeaks that hurt his ears. The meeting had been going on for 6 hours. Jake was tired. His back hurt from sitting in the uncomfortable chair. The air in the room smelled wrong. It was too warm and too thick. Every breath felt heavy in his lungs. Dr. Lisa Hayes sat next to him. She was writing notes on her tablet. Her fingers moved fast across the screen. She had been studying these aliens for 3 years. She knew their languages and their customs, but even she looked frustrated. Commander Ben Parker stood behind them. His hand rested on his weapon. His eyes moved around the room. He watched every alien. He watched every door. He never relaxed. That was his job. The room was enormous. It had 12 tables arranged in a circle. Each table held representatives from different alien species. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps and data. The ceiling was made of clear glass. Outside, Jake could see the stars and the planet below. Ambassador Zektar spoke again. He was from the hegemony. His body looked like a giant insect. He had 4 arms and black eyes that never blinked. His voice was sharp and angry. The humans must understand their place, Zektar said. They are new to this galaxy. They have been here for only 50 years. We have been here for thousands. They should be grateful for what we offer them. Jake felt his jaw tighten. Lisa put her hand on his arm. She knew he was getting angry. She had seen that look before. Council Prime Velmoth spoke next. His body was made of living crystal. Light moved through him when he talked. His voice sounded like wind through caves. The hegemony has made a fair offer, Velmoth said. The humans can keep 40% of their colonies. They can have junior member status in the council. This is generous. Generous? Jake stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. The sound echoed in the big room. You call taking 60% of our worlds generous? All the aliens turned to look at him. Their strange eyes stared. Some made clicking sounds. Others whispered in their own languages. Captain Morrison, Velmoth said, please sit down. Emotional outbursts will not help these negotiations. Jake did not sit down. He looked around the room at all the alien faces. Some looked bored, others looked amused. None of them looked like they cared about what happened to humanity. For 3 years we have been at war, Jake said. The hegemony attacked our colonies, they killed our people, they destroyed our ships. And you want us to thank them for it? Zektar made a sound like laughter. Your people died because they were weak. Your ships were destroyed because they were primitive. You should learn from this. The humans expanded too fast, said another alien. This one looked like a tall bird with silver feathers. They claimed systems without asking permission. They ignored our borders. Those systems were empty, Lisa said. She stood up next to Jake. There were no alien colonies there, no alien ships, no alien life at all. It does not matter, said a third alien. This one had green skin and 4 eyes. The galaxy has rules. The humans did not follow them. Jake felt his anger growing. These aliens had been making rules for thousands of years. They had divided up the galaxy among themselves. When humans arrived, they found empty systems and built colonies. They thought they were free to expand and grow. But the aliens did not see it that way. They said humans were invaders. They said humans were dangerous. They said humans needed to be controlled. The war started when the hegemony attacked a human colony. They said it was in their territory. The humans fought back. More attacks came. More fights followed. Now 3 years later, millions were dead. Let me understand this, Jake said. You want us to give up most of our colonies. You want us to accept that we are less important than you. You want us to be grateful for whatever scraps you leave us. That is correct, Zektar said. The humans must learn their place in the natural order. Jake looked at Lisa. She nodded. She understood what he was thinking. They had talked about this possibility many times. They had prepared for this moment. Jake looked at Ben. The commander's hand was still on his weapon. but his eyes were calm. He was ready for whatever came next. "The human government sent us here to make peace," Jake said. "We came in good faith. We offered to share our technology. We offered to trade. We offered to work together." "And you still can," Velmoth said, "if you accept our terms." Jake shook his head. "Your terms are not peace. They are surrender. You want us to give up our freedom. You want us to bow down to you. You want us to admit that humans are worth less than other species." "That is the reality," Zektar said. "The sooner you accept it, the better." Jake reached for his briefcase. He pulled out a folder. Inside were documents, orders from Earth, plans that had been made in secret, preparations for this exact moment. "Humanity withdraws from these proceedings," Jake said. His voice was quiet but clear. "We will handle our own affairs." The room went silent. The aliens stared at him. Some made confused sounds. Others looked shocked. "You cannot do this," Velmoth said. "The Council has authority over all species in this galaxy." "Not over us," Jake said. "Not anymore." He closed his briefcase. Lisa gathered her notes. Ben moved to the door. "This is a mistake," Zektar said. "You will regret this decision." Jake stopped at the door. He turned back to look at the aliens. They were all watching him. Some looked angry. Others looked worried. A few looked scared. "Maybe," Jake said. "But it will be our mistake to make." He walked out of the room. Lisa and Ben followed him. Behind them, the aliens started talking all at once. Their voices rose in anger and confusion. But Jake did not look back. The door closed behind them with a soft click. The sound echoed in the hallway. Jake took a deep breath. The air out here was cooler and cleaner. It felt good in his lungs. "Well," Lisa said. "That went exactly as we expected." "Yeah," Ben said. "Now comes the hard part." Jake smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had made a difficult choice, a man who knew what came next. "Signal the fleet," he said. "Tell them we are coming home, and tell them to prepare for war." Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of the space station orbiting Earth. The room was dark except for the glowing screens. Red lights blinked on the walls. Officers moved quietly between the computers. Everyone spoke in whispers. Kate watched the big screen in front of her. It showed a map of human space. Red dots marked the locations of enemy fleets. Blue dots showed human ships. There were more red dots than blue dots. Much more. "Admiral," said a young officer, "we just received word from the peace talks. Captain Morrison has withdrawn from negotiations." Kate nodded. She had been expecting this news. The aliens had never wanted real peace. They wanted surrender. They wanted humans to bow down and accept whatever scraps they offered. "Send the signal," Kate said. "Activate Protocol 7. The officer pressed buttons on his console. A message went out to every human ship and station in the galaxy. The message was short and simple, but every human in space knew what it meant. General Rick Torres sat in his office on Mars. He was looking at reports from the outer colonies. The news was not good. Enemy ships were moving toward human worlds. Large fleets were gathering at the borders. His computer made a soft beeping sound. A message appeared on the screen. Rick read it twice. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a soldier who had been waiting for a fight. He pressed a button on his desk. "All units," he said into the microphone. "This is General Torres. Protocol 7 is now active. Repeat, Protocol 7 is active." Across the solar system, human military bases came alive. Soldiers ran to their positions. Ships powered up their engines. Weapons were loaded and checked. Everyone had a job to do. Everyone knew their part in the plan. On the alien diplomatic station, Council Prime Velmoth called an emergency meeting. The crystal being was worried. The other aliens gathered around the table. They were all talking at once. "The humans have made a mistake," said Ambassador Zektar. "They think they can survive without us. They are wrong. Perhaps we should try to contact them, said the bird-like alien. Maybe we can still make a deal. No, said Zektar. They had their chance. Now they will learn what happens when you refuse the Council's generosity. War leader Thekmol was in his ship above the hegemony homeworld. He was planning the attack on human space. His officers stood around a table covered with maps and charts. The humans are weak, Thekmol said. Their ships are small. Their weapons are simple. We will crush them in days. What about their colonies? Asked one of his officers. We will take them all, Thekmol said. The humans will beg for mercy. Then we will show them what real power looks like. The hegemony fleet was huge. Hundreds of ships moved through space toward human territory. The aliens were confident. They had more ships. They had bigger weapons. They had been fighting wars for thousands of years. But something strange was happening in human space. One by one, human colonies went dark. Their signals stopped. Their ships disappeared. The aliens thought this meant the humans were running away. They were wrong. Dr. Alan Price worked in a secret laboratory deep underground on Earth. He had been working on special projects for 10 years. Projects that no alien knew about. Projects that would change everything. Are the ships ready? He asked his assistant. All of them, the assistant said. The new stealth systems are working perfectly. The aliens cannot see them on their screens. Good, Dr. Price said. What about the other weapons? Also ready. The quantum bombs are loaded. The cyber warfare systems are online. Everything is prepared. Dr. Price smiled. The aliens thought they knew about human technology. They had seen human ships in battle. They had studied human weapons. But they had only seen what humans wanted them to see. The real weapons had been hidden. The real ships had been kept secret. For 20 years, humans had been preparing for this war. They had been building things that no alien could imagine. Captain Amy Foster sat in her ship far from Earth. The ship was called the UES Defiance. It was invisible to alien sensors. It could travel faster than any alien ship. Its weapons could destroy targets from impossible distances. Captain, said her communications officer, we just received our orders. Amy read the message on her screen. She had been waiting for these orders for 3 years. Now finally the waiting was over. Set course for the hegemony supply depot, she said. It's time to show them what humans can really do. Back on the diplomatic station, the aliens were making bets. They were gambling on how long the war would last. Some said 3 days. Others said a week. None of them said more than a month. The humans will come back begging, said Zektar. They will accept any terms we offer. They will be grateful for whatever mercy we show them. The other aliens laughed. They thought it was funny that humans believed they could fight the entire galaxy. They thought humans were foolish and weak. But in the deep space between the stars, something was moving. Human ships traveled through the darkness. They used paths that aliens did not know existed. They carried weapons that aliens had never seen. Tech specialist Ryan Clark sat in front of dozens of computer screens. He was not on a ship or a station. He was in a hidden base that no alien knew about. His fingers moved fast across the keyboards. Beginning cyber attack, he said to his team. Target all hegemony communication networks. Across alien space, computers began to fail. Communication systems went down. Navigation equipment stopped working. The aliens did not understand what was happening. They thought it was just bad luck. They were wrong about that too. Admiral Kate Sullivan received reports from all over human space. The first phase of the plan was working perfectly. Human colonies were safe in their hidden bunkers. Human ships were moving into position. Human weapons were ready to strike. How long until the aliens realize what's happening? Asked one of her officers. Kate looked at the big screen. The red dots were moving closer to human space. The alien fleets were confident and careless. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Not long, Kate said. But by then, it will be too late. She pressed a button on her chair. A message went out to every human commander in the galaxy. The message was simple, just 2 words. Begin operation. Across the galaxy, human ships came out of hiding. They appeared near alien supply lines. They struck at enemy bases. They attacked from directions that should have been impossible. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had thought humans were weak. They had thought humans would surrender. They had thought humans were just another species to be controlled. They were about to learn the truth. Humans were not like other species. When humans were pushed too far, they did not surrender. They fought back. And when humans fought back, they fought to win. The war was about to begin, but it would not be the war the aliens expected. Colonel Sam Mitchell crouched behind the metal barrier. His team of 12 soldiers was hidden in the shadows. They were inside an alien space station. The station was supposed to be impossible to reach. The aliens thought their security was perfect. They were wrong. Sam looked at his watch. In 30 seconds, Captain Amy Foster would attack the supply depot 3 systems away. In 60 seconds, Ryan Clark would shut down all communications in this sector. Everything had to happen at exactly the right time. "Ready?" Sam whispered into his radio. "Ready," came 12 voices in response. Sam counted down in his head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, but it was too late. Sam's team was already moving. They knew the layout of the station better than the aliens who lived there. They had been studying it for months. The first alien guard never saw them coming. The second one tried to sound an alarm, but Sam's soldier stopped him. Within 3 minutes, the entire command center was under human control. "Colonel," said one of his men, "we have access to their computer systems." Sam smiled. "Download everything, ship movements, supply routes, communication codes. Take it all." 3 star systems away, Captain Amy Foster watched her target through the viewport of the UES Defiance. The Hegemony supply depot was huge. It stored food, weapons, and fuel for 50 alien warships. Destroying it would cripple enemy operations for months. But Amy was not going to destroy it. She had a better idea. "Communications," she said. "Send a message to the depot commander." "What should I say, Captain?" "Tell him his depot now belongs to humanity. Tell him he has 10 minutes to surrender, or we will take it by force." The alien commander's response came back quickly. It was full of curses and threats. Amy had expected that. "Weapons officer," she said. "Fire 1 shot. Make it count." A single beam of energy left the Defiance. It struck the depot's main power generator. The lights went out across the entire structure. Backup power came on, but it was weak and flickering. The alien commander sent another message. This one was different. There was fear in his voice. "How did you do that?" he asked. "Our shields should have stopped your weapons." Amy smiled. "Surrender, now, or find out what our other weapons can do." 5 minutes later, the depot was in human hands. The aliens were locked in their own prison cells. Amy's Marines were taking inventory of everything they had captured. Tech specialist Ryan Clark sat in front of his screens in the hidden base. Lines of code scrolled past his eyes. He was inside the Hegemony's main computer network. He had been breaking through their security for hours. The aliens thought their systems were secure. They used encryption that was supposed to be unbreakable. They had firewalls that should have stopped any attack. But Ryan was not using ordinary computer attacks. He was using quantum algorithms that aliens had never seen. He was using processing power they did not know existed. He was using techniques that human scientists had developed in secret. "I'm in," he said to his team. "I have access to everything." "What do you want to hit first?" asked his assistant. Ryan grinned. "Everything." He pressed a button. Across Hegemony space, military computers started crashing. Navigation systems failed. Weapon targeting went offline. Communication networks went silent. The aliens did not understand what was happening. Their technicians ran around trying to fix problems that kept getting worse. Every time they fixed one system, 2 more systems failed. War leader Thekmal stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, officers were shouting reports. None of the reports were good. "Sir, we have lost contact with the supply depot in Sector 7. Sir, our navigation computer is not working. Sir, 3 of our escort ships just disappeared." Thekmal slammed his fist on the command table. How is this possible? The humans only have primitive technology. His communications officer looked up from his station. Sir, I am receiving a message. It is from the humans. Put it on the main screen. The image that appeared was not what Thekmol expected. Instead of Captain Morrison or one of the other diplomats, he saw a human woman in a military uniform. She looked calm and confident. I am Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Human Defense Fleet, she said. You are War Leader Thekmol of the Hegemony Third Army. We know who you are. We know where you are. We know everything about your forces. Thekmol felt a chill run down his spine. Impossible. Our position is secret. Admiral Sullivan smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Your flagship is the Devastator. You have 437 ships in your fleet. You are currently located in the Rigel system, hiding behind the third moon. Would you like me to continue? The bridge went silent. Thekmol's officers stared at the screen in shock. You have been attacking human colonies for 3 years, Admiral Sullivan continued. You have killed millions of our people. You have destroyed our cities. You thought we were weak. You thought we would surrender. What do you want? Thekmol asked. I want you to understand something, Admiral Sullivan said. For 3 years, you have been fighting the human colonial militia. Farmers and miners with old ships and simple weapons. You have never fought the real human military. What are you talking about? Today that changes. The transmission ended. Thekmol turned to his sensors officer. Scan the area, find their ships. Sir, I'm not detecting any human vessels. Scan again. Sir, there is nothing there. Suddenly alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed across the bridge. The sensors officer looked at his screen in confusion. Sir, I am detecting energy signatures. They are appearing all around us. On the main screen, ships began to materialize out of empty space. Human ships. Dozens of them. They had been there all along, invisible to alien sensors. The ships were not like the human vessels the hegemony had fought before. These were bigger, sleeker, more advanced. Their weapons were already powering up. Dr. Nina Brooks watched from her laboratory as her weapons were used in battle for the first time. She had spent 10 years developing them. She had tested them in secret. She had dreamed of this moment. The quantum torpedoes struck first. They passed through alien shields like they were not there. They hit alien ships and tore them apart at the molecular level. The plasma cannons fired next. Their beams were brighter than stars. They cut through alien armor like it was paper. The gravity bombs came last. They created small black holes that sucked enemy ships into nothingness. In 30 seconds, half of Thekmol's fleet was gone. Impossible, he whispered. This is impossible. His communications officer looked up. Sir, we are receiving another message from the humans. Admiral Sullivan appeared on the screen again. That was a demonstration. Surrender now, or we will continue. Thekmol looked around his bridge. His officers were terrified. Half his fleet was destroyed. His weapons could not even hit the human ships. What are your terms? He asked. No terms, Admiral Sullivan said. You wanted war. Now you have it. The human ships opened fire again. This time they did not stop until every hegemony vessel was destroyed or disabled. Colonel Sam Mitchell finished downloading the alien computer files. His team had completed their mission. They had captured the command station without losing a single soldier. Colonel, said his communications officer, Admiral Sullivan wants to speak with you. Sam took the radio. Yes, Admiral? Good work, Colonel. Phase 1 is complete. Are you ready for Phase 2? Sam looked at the alien prisoners. They were staring at him with fear in their eyes. They were beginning to understand that humans were not what they had seemed. Ready, Admiral. What are our orders? Take your team to the hegemony shipyards. I want those facilities captured intact. We are going to need them. Understood. What about prisoners? Send them home. I want them to tell their leaders what they have seen. I want the entire galaxy to know that humanity is no longer asking for peace. Sam smiled. And if they refuse to listen? Admiral Sullivan's voice was cold and hard. Then we will teach them the same lesson we taught Thekmol. President Helen Carter stood at the window of her office on Earth. She watched the stars through the thick glass. 3 months had passed since humanity withdrew from the peace talks. 3 months since the war began. 3 months since everything changed. Her assistant knocked on the door. Madam President, Admiral Evans is here to see you. Fleet Admiral Doug Evans entered the room. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been commanding human forces across the galaxy. He carried a folder full of reports. How bad is it? Helen asked. For them? Very bad, Doug said. The hegemony has lost 80% of their fleet. Their government is collapsing. Their colonies are declaring independence. And the other alien species? Doug opened his folder. The council dissolved 2 weeks ago. Half the member species are fighting civil wars. The other half are trying to contact us. Helen nodded. She had expected this. When humans controlled the trade routes, other species felt the effects quickly. When human cargo ships stopped delivering goods, alien economies crashed. What about our losses? Minimal. We have lost 12 ships and 300 soldiers. The aliens have lost thousands of ships and millions of troops. Helen felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Satisfaction because humanity was winning. Sadness because so many had to die. But the aliens had made their choice. They had rejected peace. Ambassador Claire Watson sat in a refugee camp on the planet Zarian. She was disguised as a human trader who had lost her ship. The aliens around her did not know she was a spy. They did not know she was reporting everything to human intelligence. The supply ships have not come in 6 weeks, said a bird-like alien. My people are running out of food. Mine too, said another alien with blue skin. The humans used to deliver medical supplies. Now our hospitals are empty. Claire listened to their complaints. She recorded their conversations. She sent reports back to Earth every day. The aliens were suffering, but they still did not understand why. They thought the humans had simply disappeared. They did not realize that humanity was punishing them. They did not know that every trade route, every supply line, every communication network was under human control. Council Prime Velmoth was no longer Council Prime. His crystal body was cracked and dim. He sat in a small room on a forgotten station. No one came to visit him. No one asked for his advice. The council had blamed him for the disaster. They said he should have been more careful with the humans. They said he should have offered better terms. They said it was all his fault. But Velmoth knew the truth. The council had been too proud. They had treated humans like children. They had assumed humans would always be weak. They had made the same mistake that empires always made. They had underestimated their enemies. Now the council was gone. The great alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was finished, and it was all because they had refused to treat one species with respect. On the planet Korath, riots filled the streets. The population was angry. They had no food, no medicine, and no hope. Their government had promised them an easy war against the humans. Instead, they had gotten disaster. "Where are our sons?" shouted an alien mother. "Where is our fleet?" The government officials had no answers. They had sent their young to fight humans. Most of them never came back. The ones who did return told stories that no one wanted to believe. Stories about human ships that appeared from nowhere. Stories about weapons that could destroy planets. Stories about soldiers who fought like demons. Stories about a species that was nothing like what they had been told. Fleet Admiral Doug Evans received a message on his personal communicator. It was from Director Paul Hayes, the head of Human Intelligence Services. "Admiral, we have a problem. The Zephyrian Empire is mobilizing their fleet. They want to attack us while we are busy with the hegemony." Doug smiled grimly. "How many ships do they have?" 2,000. "And how many do we have in that sector?" 50. "That should be enough." Director Hayes paused. "Admiral, are you sure? 2,000 ships is a lot." "Paul, 3 months ago, the hegemony had 5,000 ships. How many do they have now?" About 200. Then 50 ships should be more than enough for the Zephyrians. Doug was right. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Zephyrian Empire no longer existed. Their homeworld surrendered without firing a shot. Their emperor was found dead in his palace, apparently killed by his own guards. President Helen Carter decided it was time to send a message to the galaxy. She recorded a speech in her office. It would be broadcast to every alien world that still had working communications. People of the galaxy, she began. 3 months ago, humanity offered you peace. We offered to share our knowledge. We offered to trade with you. We offered to work together for the good of all species. She paused and looked directly into the camera. You rejected our offer. You told us we were inferior. You told us we should be grateful for whatever scraps you gave us. You told us to accept our place as your servants. Her voice grew harder. You were wrong. Humanity is not inferior. We are not your servants. We will not bow down to anyone. We tried to be your friends. You chose to be our enemies. She stood up and walked closer to the camera. Now you see the consequences of that choice. Your fleets are destroyed, your governments are collapsing, your people are hungry and afraid. This is what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. She returned to her desk. But we are not monsters. Any species that wishes to make peace with humanity may do so. We will accept your surrender. We will provide food and medicine to your people. We will help you rebuild. Her voice became cold. But understand this. There will be no negotiation. There will be no bargaining. You will accept our terms or you will face the same fate as the hegemony. The age of alien dominance is over. The age of humanity has begun. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched the message. Some were angry. Some were frightened. Some were desperate. But all of them understood one thing. The galaxy had changed forever. The species they had thought were weak farmers and miners were actually the most powerful military force in known space. Within a week, 17 different alien governments sent messages to Earth. They all said the same thing. They wanted to surrender. They wanted to make peace. They wanted to survive. President Helen Carter read each message carefully. Some were from species that had attacked human colonies. Some were from species that had voted against humanity in the Council. Some were from species that had simply ignored humans completely. What should we tell them? Asked her secretary. Helen thought for a long moment. She remembered the peace talks. She remembered how the aliens had laughed at human diplomats. She remembered how they had treated humanity like beggars asking for charity. Tell them we will consider their requests, she said. But first, they must prove they are serious about peace. How? They must turn over all their military commanders who attacked human worlds. They must pay compensation for the damage they caused. They must accept human observers on their planets. And they must publicly apologize for their treatment of humanity. Hurry. Secretary looked surprised. Those are harsh terms. Helen smiled coldly. They are the same terms they offered us. They told us we should be grateful for whatever we could get. Now we will see if they are grateful for whatever we give them. Across the galaxy, alien species faced a choice. They could accept humanity's terms and survive. Or they could resist and face the same fate as the hegemony. Most of them chose to survive. The age of alien supremacy was over. The age of human dominance had begun. Ambassador Tony Reed walked into the meeting room on New Geneva Station. The station was built by humans in the space between Earth and Alpha Centauri. It was where humanity now met with other species. It was where the new rules of the galaxy were made. Tony was younger than Jake Morrison had been. He was harder too. He had grown up during the war. He had seen what happened when humans tried to be kind to aliens who did not deserve kindness. The meeting room was smaller than the old council chambers. There were only 6 tables instead of 12. Many alien species no longer existed. Others were too weak to matter. Only the survivors were allowed to sit at these tables. At the first table sat representatives from the former hegemony worlds. They were no longer called the hegemony. That government was gone. Now they were just the Insectoid Coalition. They controlled only 12 planets instead of the hundreds they once ruled. At the second table sat the bird-like aliens from the Avian Republic. They had been smart enough to surrender early. They had kept most of their territory, but they followed. Human rules now. The other tables held similar groups, broken pieces of once great empires. Survivors who had learned to bow their heads when humans spoke. Tony sat down at the human table. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat next to him. She now commanded the largest fleet in the galaxy. Director Paul Hayes sat on his other side. His intelligence network reached every corner of known space. The aliens waited for Tony to speak. They did not start meetings anymore. They did not make demands. They waited for humans to tell them what was allowed. "Good morning," Tony said. His voice was calm and polite. "I have several announcements to make." The aliens leaned forward. They hung on every word. Their survival depended on following human instructions exactly. First, the trade routes in Sector 15 are now open, again. Human cargo ships will resume deliveries next week. The medical supplies you requested will arrive on schedule. Several aliens looked relieved. Their people had been sick for months. Only human medicine could help them now. Second, the war crimes trials will begin next month. We have completed our investigation of the attacks on human colonies. 67. Alien commanders will face justice for their actions. The former hegemony representative shifted uncomfortably. Many of those commanders were his people, but he said nothing. He could not protect them. Humanity held all the power now. Third, the new mining agreement for the Rigel system has been approved. Human companies will extract the resources. You will receive 20% of the profits, as agreed. This was how things work now. Humans controlled the valuable systems. Aliens were allowed to have small shares if they behaved well. It was the opposite of how things used to be. Tony opened a folder on his desk. "Now let us discuss the requests you have submitted." The avian representative spoke first. "Ambassador Reed, my people request permission to expand our colony on Kepler 438b. We need more space for our growing population." Tony pretended to consider this. He already knew the answer. Every decision had been made before the meeting started. "Denied," he said. "That system is too close to human space. You may expand your colony on Kepler 442c instead." The avian bowed his head. "Thank you for your consideration." Tony almost smiled. 3 years ago, the avians would have been outraged by such treatment. They would have demanded better terms. They would have threatened war. Now they thanked humans for giving them anything at all. The crystal being who used to be Council Prime Velmoth was not at the meeting. He lived on a small moon now, forgotten and alone. Sometimes he sent messages asking for an audience with human leaders. The messages were always ignored. The next representative was from the Aquatic Federation. Her species lived in underwater cities. They had stayed neutral during the war. That had saved them from destruction, but it had not saved them from human dominance. "Ambassador," she said, "we request permission to build a new underwater city on Tau Ceti. The planet has the right conditions for our people." "Approved," Tony said. "But you will share the system with a human colony. Our people will build floating cities on the surface. You will coordinate all activities with the human governor." The aquatic alien nodded quickly. "Of course. We are honored to share the system with humanity." Director Paul Hayes leaned over to whisper in Tony's ear. "Sir, we have a situation. The Zephyrian survivors are planning some kind of resistance movement." Tony nodded slightly. He made a note on his tablet. After the meeting, human ships would visit the Zephyrian worlds. The resistance would be stopped before it started. This was how humanity maintained order now. They watched everything. They knew everything. Any species that caused trouble was dealt with quickly and quietly. The meeting continued for 2 hours. The aliens made their requests. Tony approved some and denied others. The aliens thanked him for every decision, even the ones that hurt them. When the meeting ended, the alien representatives filed out quietly. They would return to their worlds and tell their people what humanity had decided. Their people would accept those decisions without complaint. Tony stayed in his chair after the aliens left. Admiral Sullivan and Director Hayes remained with him. "How are the expansion plans going?" Tony asked. "Very well," Admiral Sullivan said. "We now control 42% of the galaxy. The new colonies are thriving. Our fleet grows stronger every month." "Any resistance?" "Nothing serious. A few pirate groups, some terrorist cells. We eliminate them as soon as they appear." Director Hayes opened his own folder. "Sir, I have the latest intelligence reports. Every major alien government is now under human influence. We have agents in their militaries, their governments, and their corporations." "Good," Tony said. "What about Earth?" "Earth is more prosperous than ever. The resources flowing in from alien worlds have made every human citizen wealthy. Our technology advances faster than ever. Our military is unstoppable." Tony stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved through space. They carried goods, people, and messages to every corner of the galaxy. They were the arteries of a new empire, an empire ruled by humans. He thought about Jake Morrison, the diplomat who had walked out of the peace talks. Jake had died in the war, leading a mission to capture an alien weapons facility. But he had lived to see humanity's victory. He had lived to see the aliens learn their mistake. "Schedule another meeting for next month," Tony said. "The aliens always have new requests, and we need to discuss the expansion into the Andromeda galaxy." Admiral Sullivan looked surprised. "Andromeda? That's another galaxy entirely." Tony smiled. It was not a kind smile. The aliens in this galaxy thought they could control humanity. They thought we would stay in our small corner of space. They thought we would accept whatever they gave us. He turned back to face his colleagues. They were wrong. And if there are other species in other galaxies who think the same way, they are wrong too. Humanity will not be contained. We will not be controlled. We will not be told what we can and cannot do. Director Hayes nodded. "The scouts have already begun mapping routes to Andromeda. We should have a permanent presence there within 5 years." "Excellent," Tony said. "The galaxy belongs to humanity now. But why stop at one galaxy?" 3 years ago, humanity had begged for peace. They had offered to share their technology. They had tried to find a place in the galactic community. The aliens had rejected them. They had treated humans like inferior beings. They had thought humans were weak. Now humanity ruled the galaxy. Alien species existed only because humans allowed them to exist. They followed human laws, traded with human approval, and lived by human rules. Some people said humanity had become too harsh. Some said the aliens deserved mercy. Some said humans should be more generous to the defeated species. But Tony remembered the laughter in the council chambers. He remembered how the aliens had mocked human diplomats. He remembered how they had called humans primitive and weak. He remembered, and he made sure humanity never forgot. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of human empire had begun, and it would last forever.